Just hit 10,000 miles. This vehicle has been excellent so far. We're gonna discuss it.
Well, I officially hit 6 months, 10,000 miles on this vehicle. We're gonna do a little review on it today, talk about the top 10 problems for this vehicle, and I absolutely love this vehicle. If I had to buy it again, I would buy it again, but I just thought I would cover some aggravating things that I've been dealing with. And again, this should not be something that changes your decision on this vehicle. So let's get into the review. One of the problems I do have is actually hitting this and rubbing on this. A lot of people call it the bucket in and out. It's almost like a trip. If you could see that little ledge here, I'll put my hand here so you guys could see. But I mean, that's pretty decent sized. I mean, it's almost the length of my hand here. So when you get in the vehicle and out of the vehicle, you constantly have to bring your leg up out of it. I'll show you really quick. But as you can see, I'm sitting here like this, and you gotta lift up out of it, get out. The next problem I have is starting this car with your cell phone and using your cell phone as the key. Now you have to make sure that your phone is actually lit up and woken up. Otherwise, if you just come here and try and start, it does not always work. It will say key not detected. In this case, it works. Now, a workaround from this would be to actually sit in the vehicle. If you see on the screen here, it'll say no key detected, even though you have your cell phone activated and awake. The thing you could do is actually come over to to your Ford app and hit the start button, and that seems to do the trick as well. But it's finicky and it definitely glitches from time to time. In this case, it worked. So another issue I have with this vehicle is the fact that the battery loss when running the heat is really bad, okay? Especially in cold weather. As you guys can see, it's currently 26 degrees here. It gets very cold. It gets very cold. And what I noticed myself doing quite a bit is turning the heat on and also turning it off. And just for example, you have the volume knob here, which is very easy and simple to use, right? But to turn the heat on, the little knob, you have to come here and hit this, right? And I feel like I'm constantly playing around with this. And the other thing is I have to take my eyes off of the road. Like you have to come down here, find this little button, and then adjust this. Now you can swipe with your finger here, right? And you could swipe down and turn it off too. But I don't like the fact that you have to take your eyes off the road and constantly play with this. Now, if the heat wasn't an issue during the winter time and such range loss, you wouldn't be messing around with this so often. But I like just warming it up on my drive a little bit, turning it off, letting the vehicle stay warm, and then when I need heat again or the defrosting, then I turn it back on and I turn it off, and I find myself just messing with it a lot. Other vehicles that I've owned, obviously there's a knob for the heat that you could adjust. You guys could check it out in my other video. I'll link it above, but the range loss when driving and also staying outside, leaving the vehicle outside, there's a dramatic range loss that I've noticed. Obviously, when driving distances, this is only trying to estimate how far you're going to go. It doesn't include hills, doesn't include quite a lot of things, whether you're going to run the heat, the AC, and also the range loss when just parked outside. Has a lot to do with the weather outside, how cold it is. You lose range just sitting there, and that varies. And what I've also noticed is it's also the wind, right? The wind chill temperature outside. If it's windy and the wind chill is cold, you're going to lose more range with your vehicle sitting outside. Fortunately for me, I have a one-car garage that I could park in, but when I go to work and I have to park outside for 8 hours, I don't know how much range loss I'm going to have on a daily basis. The other issue I have, which pretty much comes with all EV vehicles, is the fact that it's hard to clean, right? You get, especially in the wintertime, you get all this salt and crud all over your vehicle. That I like having my vehicles clean, and you really can't bring it to a car wash. Now, I know some say there's settings inside that you could adjust so you can go through a car wash, but I'm not one to experiment with those settings, and I don't want the vehicle to get messed up in a car wash, right? So you really have to hand wash this yourself. makes things a little bit difficult, especially when it's cold outside, below freezing. Put water on here and it freezes. It's very difficult to clean. So that is another negative of having an EV, not just the Ford Mach E. So let's take this vehicle for a little spin. Let's talk about some other issues. And just to remember, overall, this vehicle is so great. I really had a hard time making the top 10 things I hate about this vehicle. But let's just drive it around. I'm going to show you guys some other things with this adaptive cruise control, some other features that we have going on. Some of the other issues I have is the pre-collision assist, and we're going to try and test it out here. I think it's a little bit too sensitive, and obviously the car doesn't trust you as a driver. It gets a little hairy at times, but we're going to try and see what we could do to show an example of this. See if I could get this here. Didn't work. You guys can see I'm in cruise control right now. It should. It slowed me right down on the spot, which is great. Now the pre-collision assist is a setting that you could take off the vehicle. I leave it on. I feel like at certain times it's a little bit too sensitive, I guess, but it's a great feature to have. I guess you'd rather have it be too sensitive than not sensitive, right? So tough to complain about it. I'm trying to see if I could snatch an example of it when it pops up. Even in drive-thrus, if you're at a drive-thru, see, it actually didn't show up there. That's crazy. If you're at a drive-thru and someone creeps ahead and you pull forward, sometimes the adaptive cruise control shows up even in the drive-thru, and it's a little bit annoying listening to the beeping of it. And it's like, you don't trust me as a driver, I'm not going to hit the person in front of me, especially at a drive-thru. One other annoying thing about this vehicle is the dealer software updates. Now, a lot of them are over-the-air updates where you could do yourself. You know, sometimes that glitches and it doesn't work, but if you're connected to like a home Wi-Fi, definitely speeds things up. You could also change the settings within the Ford Mach E so you don't get a software update while you're out and about. Heard a lot of people saying, oh man, I was charging and the software update wanted to update and I couldn't charge. Where there's settings inside the Ford Mach E that you can change that, where you have to initialize the software update. But the whole point of having an EV is not having the maintenance, not having the inconvenience of certain things. And I am taking this Ford Mach E into the dealership this Tuesday to get a software update, which has to be done by the dealer. So no oil changes. I am rotating the tires too, but it's a little bit annoying that I have to bring it to the dealer for a software update, and I kind of worry if there's going to be any future software updates that need to be done by the dealer. Going to the dealer is not fun. Let's just test this adaptive cruise control out. What you do is you hit the cruise button, select it, lock it in place. You guys can see I'm at 71 miles an hour. If I speed up, currently at 75, it's going to sense the vehicle in front of me. As you can see, I'm going 75. Vehicle in front of me is definitely not going 75. It's going to start to slow me down to however fast they're driving. Say we're dropping to 73. This is a very, very nice feature. Now, some of the issues that I do have is when the person slams really fast in front of you, you do have to hit the brake. But this feature here, you could adjust how many car lengths you want to go back from them. So there we're 4 lengths back, will slow you down. This kind of gives you a little bit more time to adjust. The other issue that sometimes happens, you can't change lanes too with it. So it's going to bring me back up to 75 miles an hour. Now, if the vehicle here to the right starts merging into our lane, sometimes the vehicle thinks that it's going to be going right into your lane. So the vehicle will slow down even though they're not fully into your lane. Like, I do wish the person in the right lane merging in, it maybe would have to sense a blinker, but obviously the car does not trust people. Maybe it thinks it's coming no matter what, regardless of a blinker. So it's a little bit annoying on the throughway, especially when people are driving improperly. Sometimes they don't mean to cross into your lane. They just are swerving. They can't stay in the lane. It's just the way they drive. As you guys can see, I have no hands on the steering wheel right now, and we are going around a turn and it's keeping me in there. Now, it will warn me and say hand on the steering wheel, but just look at this. It's doing a great job. And this person's cutting in front of me. Keep hand on the steering wheel. Kind of warns you there. But it did a great job. It does a great job staying within the lane. What we're going to see here is something that I noticed while in adaptive cruise control. The car doesn't always read the miles per hour speed limit correctly. So what you're going to see here is that the mile per hour changes from 55 to 65. But when I'm in the adaptive cruise control, the vehicle will actually switch it to 85 miles an hour. So let's just show you guys here an example. So you guys can see we're about to change from 55 to 65. Watch what happens here. Switches to 85 miles an hour for the cruise control, and we'll go that fast too. If you can see that 85 in the top right corner. So you got to be extremely careful with this. You don't want to get pulled over and get any speeding tickets. And occasionally the adaptive cruise control will cancel on you. As you can see, this is a little weird area that I've noticed, but it doesn't really know what to do once the street merges into one lane. Look at that, it actually handled it, but sometimes it cancels. Another time too, I was driving here and 2 bikers came out right along that lane and tried turning, but the vehicle thought they were going to cut right in front of us, and the vehicle actually slammed on its brakes, and it was very jolting. So the pedestrians is another issue in this. I don't think the car, it just doesn't trust people, and I think it's just being ultra protective of an accident. I knew while I was driving in the cruise control that the bikers were going to just turn and stay in that white lane area, but they thought they were going to come directly out, and I knew that they were going to turn, but the vehicle really jolted. I think it's a good thing that the vehicle is ultra protective, but at times you just have to make sure if you're in cruise control, assume that the car doesn't know what's going to happen with these pedestrians, and it could slam on the brakes and it could be a little bit jolting at times. Just to reiterate, this vehicle is awesome. Like, I had a very hard time coming up with these 10 things to complain about. Absolutely love this vehicle. It does great in the snow too. You guys could see that in my prior videos. So I mean, there's some things that I think just come along with having an EV and being understanding that there's some weird glitches and stuff with the technology that's in it. I really wouldn't let these things stop you from buying the vehicle. And if you guys are interested, I will be driving this thing across country, stopping at different EV stations, doing all sorts of stuff. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe for future content. It's gonna be a crazy adventure. Check you soon. Peace.